Albert has a question. He says, what was your most expensive item sold? Here, I'm going to mix in sales in between every question here, and we're going to go quickly through it. This is an awesome vintage single-stitch Batman t-shirt in very good condition, and it is new old stock right there. Look at that, Warner Brothers. That one sold for $115 plus shipping. All right, y'all, it's Q&A day. I'm going to answer your questions out there. This is from a video a couple weeks ago, and this is the first one I'm going to answer today. Cynthia Wilson says, do you test video games, cassettes, and VHS? The answer is no for the most part. I almost never test them. However, if there's something that looks off on a cassette tape or a VHS, I will test it, unless it's super low dollar, and then if there's something off, I probably won't sell it at all. If it's super high dollar, I will test it as well, but for the most part, I don't test any of those things. Look at this, y'all. This is a first. All three of these lazy dogs in one place. Sophie even came to join us. She's feeling a lot better these days. Sold a vintage Redman hat right there. That's not a bad little hat right there. That one sold for $24.95 plus shipping. Every time I do one of these videos, somebody asks about the Inman. So hey, this is from Exhibit Designs. Thank you, Kevin. I always learn something. Would like to know how you originally came into all the Inman plush. It's a great question, but I don't want to answer it. I have a video about it, though. You can go check that video out. It'll tell you all about the history behind that Inman. I'll just, in a short answer, I'll say that I found them around here for a long time because the Fleet Enema Company is, or was, I guess it still is, it's owned by a different company at this point, is in Lynchburg, Virginia, and you would see these plush out at yard sales and stuff from time to time, and I had sold them, and then I came across an absolute motherload of them, and I bought all of them. So there's the answer. I have needed to sell a lot of clothes lately, and this one's not a huge money maker, but any bit of clothing I can get out of there would be awesome right now. $12.71 plus shipping for a Harley sleeveless tee. Next question is from, used to be Thrifty Esme. Now it's Esme Loves Vintage, one of our very first subscribers on the Commonwealth Picker channel years ago. So thank you for still being here. She says, question, when you wake up every morning, what motivates you to hop out of bed? That is a great question. Loaded question. I could talk about it forever. I think because there's so many different things. I like to say something as simple as coffee, but it really is, some of it is the simple things. Having a cup of coffee on my back deck with the dogs wanting to give you a hug. You know, I'm up before my family, so they're not ready to get up yet, but it's I don't have to go to work every day and work for somebody else. I don't need motivation to get up and work anymore because everything's in my control at this point, and I control my own businesses. And it's just amazing. Some of it is faith-based, family-based. My wife, I love to provide for my wife, not just the things that we need, but the things that she desires and dreams about. And that's a huge motivator for me as well. Same thing with the kids. I love to craft my day in a way that I get to spend time with my kids. And that is a huge motivator for me to get up and get going so that I have time to do all the things that I love, like build businesses and make money and do all those things, make videos for that matter, and still have time for them. So I don't know, it's kind of a rambling answer, but I don't need much motivation, but those things and my family and all that. And my friends, I love to get up and have that cup of coffee and eat a little breakfast or something and check in on my buddies. How are they doing? Look at their live shows, watch their videos, check their Instagrams. Maybe send them a text message. I'd love to do that too. And another one, and this was a big time winner right here, and I bundled this in a huge deal. You've probably seen it on Picker. I don't remember what the ultimate price came out per, but this one paid for everything at that sale, I'm pretty sure. Sidney Crosby, Captains, Pittsburgh Penguins jersey, $145 plus shipping. Question from Dolores Miller. Question, do you do sales, and how much off do you do when you do your sale? Do you do promoted listings, and how much promoted percentage? So that's a great question. So I do sales, but usually it depends. I used to do 10% sales, but now I've decided that once something hits 200 days, for instance, sometimes it's 250, I'll do a 30% off sale. And it works okay. I usually get some sales from that, but there's still a lot of items that don't sell. Sometimes I'll redo the listings, and then once it hits that again, they'll do a sale or whatever. Turner just threw a ball at me. And what was the other question? Promoted listings. I do not do promoted listings, and it's not the most popular opinion, which blows my mind, but I get it, right? I would say that the folks watching this show, almost half of the people watching this show do promoted listings. And I'm just gonna say that you gotta figure out what's best for your model. Mine doesn't need it so bad. I'd rather pass on the discount to somebody else and drop my price down a little bit. But in the end of the day, if you do promoted listings, you're only paying promotion fees on the ones that sell via promotion. And so a lot of folks have found that if they do the promoted listings, they're gonna get more sales. So I'm not gonna argue with those folks. They know what's best for their business, but for me, I don't do it, and I don't encourage people to do it either. The next one, I got a little retail arbitrage. I bought it over on Dibdit.com, but I got it from FleetCon on Media Day, and boy, sometimes he brings the deals, and I was like, there is going to be enough margin in this for me to make some money on it, and there was. This one sold for 50 bucks. Casio disc title printer, right there. You see that? I was like, sweet. So I made some money off of that one. Thank you, FleetCon. Question from Crypto Pooper. Interesting name. Other than eBay and Amazon, what selling platforms would you recommend? So I don't sell on Amazon, for one. I don't find it enjoyable, to be honest with you. That is not to say it's a bad place to sell. I bet you there are more people who make millions on Amazon than there are that make millions on eBay, for sure. But it's a different kind of reselling, and it's not what I enjoy the most, so I choose not to do it. Obviously, eBay, you mentioned that. So I sell on Mercari. I sell on, going to be 4 different district sites, district marketplaces. Dibdit is my own, and there's going to be another one coming soon. We've got, what else do I sell on over there? One Stop Shop. I sell on, I sold on Knickknacks. Crazy Lamp Lady's site did crazy good on the glass side of it, which was amazing. I sell on Mercari, like I said. And what else? Whatnot. I sell on Whatnot. And all this stuff isn't for everybody. I would suggest for somebody who is trying to expand their business outside of eBay, I would probably suggest Mercari first. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with that. I think you can choose and pick and choose. There's Poshmark. It depends on what you're selling. So, you know, I don't sell on Poshmark anymore. I used to. But it's just a matter of time versus the money you can make. And I find my time is much better spent on those other places, but it's not necessarily going to be that for everybody else. So hopefully that answers sort of your question. Kohl's Cares aren't really all that good, although there's a couple in there. This one right here is a Dr. Seuss Put Me in the Zoo, I think. And it looks super clean. I'm like, you know what, I'll probably get 10 bucks. It's 50 cents. So I grabbed it, and that's exactly what happened. $9.95 plus shipping. Question from Rhonda. She says, just a newbie, 3 months in. When you list your items, do you do buy it now or best offer? I just do buy it now. I don't do best offer. And I think a lot of the resellers that I know that are very successful do put on best offer. I don't put it on, and it's a time issue more than anything else. And I also think that a lot of folks know that if you just send a message and ask for an offer, you can send it anyways. And I think it encourages more people, right? If somebody's on the fence about buying something and they see that best offer button, they're going to delay their purchase a little bit. This is me just anecdotally answering your question. I don't even know if it's the right answer. But for me, if I see an item has best offer on it, I know they're willing to take less, because that's why they put best offer on there. And so I'll send the offer. If I don't even see that, I usually just buy the item. That's just me. So I figured there are some people out there like me, so hopefully that answers your question. And what was the other question here? Oh, 14, they said, also, do you run sales? And the last, we already answered that. The last one, do you price, for an example, $14.99 versus $15? I actually do $14.95. And again, I don't know that this is the answer, but I think that the data shows that listing something for $15 is not as good as listing it for $14.99. I decide to go $14.95 on my listings, or whatever, 95, because even if you're just a penny or 2 or 4 in front of the person who has, if people are searching by highest price plus shipping first, that extra 4 cents will place you a little higher than a bunch of folks. So that's why I do it. I don't know if it works, but that's what I do. Next one says repeat buyer, so I'm thinking maybe you're a viewer, Jody. Thank you. Phil Vassar signed CD. Not a huge money maker, but I picked this one up super cheap as well. $11.95 plus shipping. Here's a question that somebody proposed to me, but I'm going to propose it to you folks because I don't do promoted listings. So where do you stand on promoted listings? And then they asked a bunch of other questions, which I don't do it. So no promotions at all. Curious the strategy folks use during you are using these days, since I just got back into reselling. Appreciate your content. What percentage do you promote at? Do you promote at all? So let me know in the comments below what strategies that you people who do promote, what strategies do you think are most effective? I will just say that lately, looking at the Facebook groups and looking at all the stuff that we do, the Trash Cash Facebook group and everything, I would say that most people are trending lower on the promoted listings, and they are doing standard across the board, and some people are picking and choosing. I've seen people just, 3%, and that's just what they do across the board. So I don't know, tell me what you're doing lately down below. Next one's definitely a viewer, Leanna. Thank you, Leanna, we appreciate it. She picked up something that's back there, and I'm gonna have to, well, you know what, I don't think I have to move this. I can sneak in here, maybe just, I'm looking for the Ice Capades one. It is a white one, but it's a smaller one. I'm hoping this is it. Nope, that's not it. Maybe here. Yeah, let's just get them all. Pull them all out of here, see what we can find. There. No, that's not it either. At any rate, this we picked up for super cheap as well. Like, I want to say under $1 if I'm ever going to find it here. See Ice Capades anywhere? I don't even see it. Maybe I put this one somewhere else. There it is right there. Alice in Wonderland Ice Capades. 1980 Ice Capades. That thing is pretty cool. And it sold for $14.95. Plus shipping. Looks like our second shed out here has a bird's nest. All right, Boring Reviews has a question for y'all out there. Does anyone have an average count on how many times Kevin says at any rate? Hi, Pepper. I say it a bunch. I'll tell you where it came from, though. I was doing student teaching when I was just out of college, or I wasn't really out of college yet, I suppose. And I did my student teaching at one school, and I ended up quitting. There was circumstances in my life that were pretty rough, and I ended up quitting, not permanently, just for the time being, and coming back and doing it the next semester. I got placed in a middle school for my student teaching. And the teacher was absolutely amazing. And I patterned so much after what he did my whole career. He was an excellent, Mr. Mitchell, if you're watching. He had a huge influence on the way I dealt with kids. And he would say, at any rate, all the time. I mean, he said it way more than I do. So I started just saying it naturally. And in my classroom, I find that silence can be deadly sometimes in a classroom, to keep people's attention. So those filler words sometimes, and that would get him back on track. He'd go off on a tangent, and I love teachers that went on tangents, because those tangents were the things that were important, at least to them, and so it seemed important to me. And so to get back on track, he'd say, at any rate. Next one's pretty cool. It is a vintage Alabama poster. I'm gonna have to show you a picture of it because I don't want to unroll it, but it's autographed by all of them. Right there, it's not very large, but I make sure I package that up and look like, so rubber bands are tough sometimes, y'all. So you gotta make sure you do a better job than that on it, but that was just for storage purposes. It looks like it's in good shape. How much does this go for? $59.95 plus shipping. The bugs were eating me up out there, so I decided to come in here in the air conditioning for a second. This one's from Sharon. I am an everything seller. I'm not afraid to ship large items. Okay, I shouldn't have read that part. The question is, how many items do you list each day? That is a great question, and I'm not quite as disciplined, I think, as people perceive me to be. My wife, I can tell you, lists a few items every day, 3 to 5 maybe, and I will get in 3 to 5 before I do just about anything during a day. And then hopefully at the end of the day, I can get on there and list more. So it could be anywhere between as little as 3 and as many as 30 a day is usually typically what I do. Sold some kind of low-end jeans. These are red camel, and they only sold for $14.95 plus shipping. Here's a question, I think from Ramon. I recently bought a bunch of key rings. They were 5 or 6 for $1. That seems a little expensive for key rings, but depends on what kind they are, I suppose. What's the best way to sell them, in singles or in lots? It totally depends on what kind of key ring we're talking about here. If it's something you can get 10 bucks plus shipping for, then I'd probably do, if they're multi-quantity, I would definitely do them as single listings, multi-quantity. If they're not, if they're just totally random, I think I would probably put them in lots. A lot of people, I've sold tons of, I bought tons of keychains. And well, you said key rings. Assuming they're keychains and they're random, I think I would lot them up. There are a ton of keychain collectors out there. You'd be surprised. I think I paid $1.25 a piece for these. They're in terrific condition. The bright and early beginnings. I'm gonna dump this off. Oh, mess up my poster. Glad I missed it. So 29 books. I believe I paid $1.25 a piece, but it could have been 50 cents, which would have been, you know, still like $14.50. And they sold for $43.65 plus shipping, but I think I paid $1.25, so that was a good little buy. Wish list rows. Does your total items sold on eBay include all the items you've sold over 23 years? You've been reselling. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but you can see the total items you've sold for how much money. I've always wondered about this because I've had 3 different stores over the years, so that's not even my total number, but it seems low to me. I'm wondering if there's a point where they started keeping track of that, or if it is the true number. I've heard a ton of people say it's not the true number. So I don't have an answer to your question, and I haven't even looked at it because it doesn't really matter, to be honest. This one's kind of an impulse buy. I was pressed for time, but I saw a yard sale on the side of the road. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna look really quick. I found 2 boxes full of these chalk writer things, I don't know, and they wanted 50 cents a piece, and I just quickly said, hey, $1.25 a piece, I'll buy everything you got. And they sold it to me, and there's like a total of like 6 or 8 lots, something like that. So this one is 2 of each color, 2 gold, 2 purple, 2 silver. So at $1.25 a piece, we're looking at $2 right there, and that sold for $19.95 plus shipping. And we have like 4 or 5 lots of those, and then a few of these. There's 10 total in here, so $2.50. And that one sold for $24.95 plus shipping, multi-quantity. I love it. Here's an interesting question, and I cut off the name of the person who asked it, so my apologies. I even cut off some of the questions, but I remember it. It says, talking about eBay being new back in the day and how successful it was, and it slowed down now. I actually don't think it has. I think there's more sales on eBay than really there ever has been before, with the exception of the bump during the COVID and everything, and it kind of flattened out a little bit. But eBay continues to grow. Even if they lose market share, they continue to grow. But their question had to do with platforms like Whatnot. This could include District, and mine dipped it, and live selling, which features live selling online for sellers. And they are experiencing a similar boom where almost anything seems to sell. I don't know if I'd say that. Do you think Whatnot and similar platforms are just a fad that will eventually cool down like eBay did? No, I don't. I don't think they're a fad. I think that, like anything, there may be ebbs and flows, but I think that I taught this generation for years, right? Up until 3 years ago. This generation, I don't want to sound insulting because it's not insulting. There's a different community for them. For me growing up, for a lot of you growing up, you know, ride your bike down to the neighborhood kids, you know, the one that the parent was the most lax, drive your bike into their front yard, and everybody went and hung out. We went out all day long, all over the place with no supervision, and that was our community. Totally different today. It just simply isn't the same. And so a lot of these kids get to choose their community, not from their neighborhood, not even from their school. Sometimes they choose their community online with kids with similar interests from all over the place, and they're used to being part of an online community. And I think that's what you're seeing in places like Whatnot. It's a home for some people. It's experiential buying, and it's not knowing what you want, and it's the camaraderie and everything. There's dangers to that as well, especially for some people that can't control their spending. But you know, I don't think it's a fad. I think that there's always something new, and I think that it's growing, and And we're seeing it on Dibdit. We're growing over there. It's a totally different community over there. Whatnot's got a community of its own. You don't see that piece of the puzzle on eBay, but I think that there's just two different types of buyers, and experiential buying is definitely not going away. It's not a fad. I think it's increasing, especially on places like TikTok, places like that, YouTube. It's getting bigger, not smaller. Bought a huge lot of Stampin' Up stuff the other day for 20 bucks for a huge giant box. I think we divided up into 5 different lots. These are Stampin' Up ink pads, 39 of them used. Gotta make sure this is right. Yeah, pretty sure this is right. And those sold pretty good right there by themselves. $75 plus shipping. So we've already sold one other thing. We're well into the profit. Still have 3 lots left. Question from Fern Gully. Love that name. Does eBay refund the fees they charge you when there is a return? So after you issue the return, I believe I'm right on this. The car in the background. I think I'm right on this. They do refund all the fees with the exception of the processing fee. I think that's right. Sold a, what is this, a base set booster pack, Axis and Allies, and whatever this one is, starter pack. These go pretty good, y'all, if you see these. And that one sold for $59.95 plus shipping, paid $2. Question from Betty Fremont. Anything heavy or bulky seems to be a lower return rate, correct? I don't think so. Not for me. A lot of things that are bigger may be electronic, and that's a higher return rate. I don't know. I'd say no. And I sold some Mary Kay Clinical Solutions. These are pretty darn good right here for little ones. $23.70 for that one. Got a question from Popville here. Popville. Wondering how much offering returns affects your store. He says he's a new eBay reseller, doesn't want to deal with returns. And does this affect the algorithm? So that's a great question. And being a new eBay reseller, you will probably experience more returns. You'll probably experience a few more scammers than some other folks might, because they prey on those new folks. Personally, I do offer returns. I think it is a net plus, but it's not like it's a game changer. I know resellers who do not offer returns, and only when they're forced to have a return do they actually do it. And so, you know, I don't know. I guess it's a personal preference. I think if I were to tell somebody, you know, if I had to choose, I would say yes, I would offer returns. And I would try to learn from the mistakes of bad items or items that aren't tested or something like that, and just kind of move on from them. But I think it's a net plus, and I think it helps the algorithm, if you will. I'm no algorithm expert, but I think that people are more attracted to things that they can return. A lot of people don't go through the rigmarole of actually doing the return. So I think as a new eBay reseller, I would offer returns. Franklin County Picker. I wonder if that's Franklin County here. Moonshiner territory right down the road from us. Do you think priority mail is on its way out? The reason I ask is because every time I list something, it always recommends Ground Advantage. I don't think it's on its way out. I think it's not going anywhere. I could be wrong, but I don't think it is. I do know the reason why eBay recommends that is because they want to provide a lower cost to their buyer to stay competitive with these other selling sites, because that's part of the equation for the buyer. Question from Karen. Karen, thank you for the question. Have you considered selling some of the cool t-shirts that you wear in your videos? You have a great collection. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It is growing every day. I need a new closet. And yes, because of that, I have sold some. We sold some on a Whatnot t-shirt show. I think we have, I better get this straight. Maybe I'll pop it up here, depending on when this video airs. We have a t-shirt show on Dibdit.com, and I always sprinkle in some of my Commonwealth Picker t-shirts, some of the t-shirts that I haven't worn in a while, and we put them in there, all kinds of different sizes. Come over and join us. It should be fun. We've got tons. I've bought so many graphic tees lately that I wouldn't buy for eBay, but I have been buying for Whatnot and stuff, and we're going to start running those shows over on Dibdit at this point, so maybe you can find a cool t-shirt for yourself. Question from Troy Groff. How can I watch you, Kevin, on Whatnot doing your auctions? Well, we're slowing down how many we do over there. We're doing bigger events and bigger shows, not doing a consistent one over there. We like to do kind of events over there, more bang for your buck. And instead of doing a half an hour show or an hour even, we're going longer and selling a whole lot more. It just makes it more efficient, more fun. But you can watch us over on Whatnot. You gotta get the Whatnot app. I should have a link below if you've never been over there and spent anything. 15, what do you get? 15 bucks if you use that link, and I get a kickback too. But you don't have to. And it is an app, and you gotta watch it on the app. All right, I've got Pepper behind. Whoop, she just jumped off. She needs attention today, I guess. I got a question from Lori. She said, I think you're probably a new reseller here. When you list an item, do you include the shipping cost, or do you have to let the buyer know what it will be before they buy it? I wish you would tell us the shipping cost, what the shipping cost is when someone buys, instead of saying $30 plus shipping. Shipping seems to be the hardest to learn. Please help. Okay, so maybe you're not selling at all, because when you list over there on eBay, you need to put in one method of shipping: flat rate, free, or calculated. So if you put in calculated, you put in the dimensions, the weight of an item. I don't do calculated anymore, except for on very few items. Most people do, though. I don't know about most people. A lot of people do, however. And it just calculates, and it'll show the buyer, depending on where they're at, a different price. If they're in California buying from me, the price they see is way more. If they're, in Tennessee, it's going to be way cheaper, because that's closer to Virginia. So you will have, ooh, look at this. There's a bunch of deer. Y'all see all those deer over there? We usually have 8 to 10 deer that sit out here every single night. And occasionally we'll have a bear go across here. And then every once in a while, we'll have a fox on Pepper. Anyway, back to the question. So, I don't even know what I was saying. I almost said at any rate. I do flat rate shipping, and so I just put in a price. And I just know from experience, look, this is going to typically cost me between $7 and $10 to ship. $7 and $12 to ship, maybe if it's close, $7. If it's all the way on the other side of the country, $12. It's a 2-pound item or something, I'll put in $8.99. Or if it's a 3-pound item, I'll put in $9.99, and that's what they'll see when they buy it. As far as what I say, when I say plus shipping, you can go look it on up, I suppose, if you wanted to, but it's not, well, I guess I could, but it'll be the same thing. If it's a small item, it'll be like plus 4 something shipping. Maybe that's what you're talking about. You want to see, all right, this typical item is about what you ship it. But you can just go to my eBay store and look at an item, and you'll see the typical prices that I put on shipping. All right, I got a little visitor here, and he's not going to answer the question. Now he's fighting with Pepper. Italium, I think, is maybe the name of this person. Can you tell us about your tattoo? I could tell you about the tattoo, but I don't think I really want to. I'll let you look at it, though. There you go. It's upside down, so you got to look at it the other way around, but that's the tattoo. Question from Lost World Video Games. They say, will there be any additional Hillbilly booster stickers? Enema Man booster stickers. We do those every quarter, which means that the new one, which I won't announce for a couple of days here, is coming out soon. And you guys can go check that one out on CommonwealthPicker.com. It says, I have every single Enema Man release, but I missed that one. We might have 1 or 2 Hillbilly stickers left. I always keep a couple back for special events or doing fundraisers for somebody who's in need of money or something. But I don't know what to tell you, because I don't want to disappoint you. But if you send a message, if I have one left, if you send a message to jess.commonwealthpicker@gmail.com and say that I told you you could send it, and give them your name, she can look and see if I saved more than 2. If I did, I'll sell you one. I think that's what we'll do. So, thanks. Another question about that tattoo. Listen, I would have never thought I would have ever got a tattoo, for one. But I did, and I don't know, maybe I'll get more. It's a tree, and it's not just a tree, it's got some other components to it, and it means something to me, but it's not something that I want to talk about. You wouldn't want me to talk about it either, because I get emotional. So here we go. Did Blue Ridge, this is Shalindra, who's awesome, Chandler, Arizona, thank you. Did Blue Ridge Mama and Reagan do a Precious Moments redesign project yet? No, they haven't, but my wife literally spent half an hour up there looking through them again today. I'm like, what in the world? So my guess is they will eventually. Pamela asks a question that I get often. Are the prices you quote as this sold for this much, is that the asking price, or are some of the what sold prices the best offered price? So if it is a best offer on it, I tell you what the offer is, I accept it. If I say it sold for X amount, it's almost certainly the exact amount it's sold for. Every once in a while, I might be like, okay, this one sold for, you know, $14.75 or something because of a discount or something. I might just say 15, but that's pretty rare too. I usually try to get the exact specific amount that it actually sold for. Wallen is back there playing, and no, that's Poncho back there playing. Wallen's sitting over there like a good dog. Anyway, Ruse Grandma, do you sell golf clubs? Do you sell golf clubs? If so, how the heck do you pack them? I do occasionally, but I have sold plenty of them to Uncle Steve Picker because he's a golf club seller, or traded with him. He's very kind to make some good trades, stuff he doesn't want to sell, and I give him those golf clubs. But I do occasionally sell golf clubs, and I know a guy who works at the clubhouse at the golf course down the road, so I go down there and just get the boxes from them. So I would suggest doing it that way, finding boxes from a particular golf course or something if they're willing to give them to you, because they have clubhouses and everything, and they get those in pretty often. Occasionally I have to go to the dump site over here and find a box that works if I haven't gone down there in a while, but you can buy them as well. And they're not that hard to ship, y'all. Get the right box. Almost everything's easy to ship if you get the right box. Albert has a question. He says, what was your most expensive item sold? Single item, not a multi-quantity item, a single item. The most expensive thing I ever sold was $1,750, I think, maybe $1,700. And it was the Willow first edition, sealed, immaculate condition, first run VHS, so for $1,700. Now, that market was really high back then. I've never even seen that one up for sale. I've seen very similar ones that are second runs. I've seen the fourth and fifth ones too, and they don't go for nearly as much. That one was kind of just a one-of-a-kind unicorn. I've never seen it. I'm sure there's plenty of them out there, but those are the ones that went to the video stores way back then, and it never got rented out. It got taken home by the owner, and it sat there. And so it was absolutely perfect. The market on those has drastically dropped. I'd be surprised if I could get, well, I'd probably get $800 for that one at this point. So that was my highest selling item. You know what? I take that back. I sold a silverware set. Well, it wasn't in one sale. I guess so that answer still stands. I sold a silverware set that I bought in 2 different lots that I got $1,900 for. So I guess it's not a single item. So, but at any rate, sterling silver flatware, sometimes you get a whole ton of it. I've got one in there right now I could probably get $1,500 for, but I got it locked up in my safe in the house instead. Poncho's misbehaving over here. Daniel wants to know, no, I take it back. Joe wants to know, who mows your lawn? So there's my lawn, and then you can't even see half of it. It takes a long time to mow this grass. And I mowed it for years. My wife mowed it a few times until she ran into the fence down there and broke it. And I told her she wasn't allowed to mow it anymore. She still did it. And Commonwealth Grandpa mows my grass now, and I am extremely appreciative. He helps me out so much. I've got this question multiple times when I do Q&A videos. I'll do it one more time. Tabitha says, okay, big question. I've wondered for years, at the end of your flipper videos, you end with the comment, I can't wait to see you next time. Why the long pause? Probably a dumb question, but I gotta know. That's very good. So I think language is important. I think that the way that people speak can hold attention, can deviate from the norm, and it just triggers something in the subconscious. I did those kind of things all the time in my classroom, and they became habit. One thing that there's two influences for it. Two. One of them is, well, one of them is the ending where I'll play like a scene or something in the music, and the Sunday morning show on CBS back in the day, I used to watch that, and they'd have that ending, and the way they ended their shows every day or every Sunday was influential. But I loved listening to all kinds of radio growing up, whether it was music or talk radio. And one of my favorites was Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. And he ended his show every day with that little pause. He'd say, Paul Harvey, good day. And that, I don't know what it was about that. I just loved his voice, and I loved the show. And so I did it subconsciously or just on accident one day. And I thought, huh, that sounded like Paul Harvey. So I've done it ever since. I'm gonna do 2 in a row really quick because this video is getting kind of long. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Gear Up Survival. Do you ever come across an item that has great value and a great sell-through rate, but you have a real hard time selling it due to wanting to keep it for yourself? I deal in toys, so it's hard not to want to keep some of them. How often does this happen to you? So yeah, I do come across those things. There's a couple little things that I do. If I wouldn't be willing to buy it for as much as I can sell it for, or as much as I can make off of it, then I'm probably gonna sell it. Unless it's something I've really been looking for a long time. I was never a collector. To be honest with you, I didn't have enough money to collect anything. I poured myself into reselling and my job to make ends meet because my wife didn't work outside the home and we didn't use credit and any of that stuff. And so it was almost never a question. Now that I have a little bit more money, I like to keep some of those things, but I sell 99% of what I buy. Krista has a question. She says, when you figure the profit, do you factor in your time and gas and all of the other overhead? So it depends on where I'm at. If I'm doing bookkeeping, if I'm trying to figure all this stuff out, that kind of stuff, well, I don't even do that anymore, but the answer would be yes. You got to figure in all that stuff. But when I'm out in the field, here's a little trick that I do just to make sure that all that stuff is considered in the buying process. If I see something for $5 sitting there and I know it can sell for $50, in my mind, obviously you're not thinking a $45 profit because you got to do fees in there. You know, you say shipping too, but you know, usually you charge the buyer for shipping. So 50 plus shipping. So forget that for a second. So if it's a $5 item, you know you can sell it for 50. In my mind, I take 20%. And I'm like, okay, which means it's going to be $10 in fees. It won't be that high. But I put that in there just to, in my mind, cover the overhead because the fees will be 5% less, for instance. So if you do that on all your items, you're covering your overhead for the most part, depending on what kind of overhead you have, of course. And so in my mind, it's like 5 into 50, $40, so $35 profit. It's gonna be more like 38, 39, $40 profit, but you get the point. Hey, last question of the day, and this is awesome because it lets me promote something here. How do I get to your merch? Thank you. Well, thank you. I should have Reagan do this. Don't forget to get your stickers at commonwealthpicker.com. All right, y'all, it's that time again where I get to say my Paul Harvey pause. Thank y'all for joining us, and I can't wait to see you next.